The standard form of the ellipse is on your blue paper. This information will be given to you. This will be given along with the picture, right? So you have it in front of you. You're supposed to have that blue paper in front of you now, although it's on the board. Now, the cool part about ellipses is now we have, if you notice, the top looks like a circle, right? So what do you think the center is? The same thing as HK. The center is HK. The center is the middle of the ellipse. Now, below X and below Y, you have now values. Here you have an A squared and here you have a B squared. Sometimes it will flip, giving you an A squared in front below the Y and a B squared below the X. Now, how do you identify which one is A in case we have numbers on both? A is always the biggest number. In other words, if here I have 16 and here I have 25, which one is A? 25. Wrong answer. Which one is A? 5. Note that A squared and B squared. So if I have 16 and 25, it means A is 5. If I have 49 here and 25, what is A? 7. And what is B? 5. Y'all got it already. All right. What exactly is A? A is the distance you're writing. You're writing here. A is the distance from the center to the vertex. So distance from center A is the distance from the center to the vertex. Yes. So now you know what A, B, and C are. The easiest way to picture the foci is with the parabola. The parabola got a focus point. Back in the days when I was young, we used to use these big parabolas for as antennas. If you looked outside, they were kind of like a parabola with a little thing on top. You remember this? Of course, you were not born yet. Friends, the location of A and the location of B. If A, which is the biggest number, is below X, it means that it's affecting what? The X or the Y? The X value. Therefore, do you think it's horizontal or vertical? Which is horizontal. So the big number below X means it's horizontal. Big number below Y is vertical. Your blue paper, I think, makes a good difference, but yes, it does. It shows you the horizontal and the vertical one. So use it. Now let's look at the first example. It says, sketch the graph labeling the center, the foci, the endpoint of the major and minor axis. New words, major and minor. Which one do you think is the major, the vertex or the covertex? The vertex. So that's common sense. Major means the biggest number. Minor means the smallest number. Now, looking at example 1, I want you to tell me, what is the value of A? A is 5. What about B? 3. Do you think it's horizontal or vertical? Horizontal. So if I wanted to graph this, this is what I will have. This, for example, is my x-axis. This is my y-axis. Where do you think the center is? 0, 0. Fantastic. So the center is somewhere here, right? The 5 units, am I moving up, down, or left or right? Left and right. Because we say it was horizontal, the big number is below x. That means you're going 5 and 5 on the x. So if I count, let's say this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This point, and I do also 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What are those 2 points? Vertices. Usually I will put just a V there to say vertices. For covertices, I will count only 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And I will call it CVs. From here you can actually graph your, I don't know if I have that lovely shape.
Yeah, you do.
This one? This one? That's okay. I will pick it up. Well, it wasn't good enough. Something like that, okay? Well, that's how it's going to look, but it's going to go through these points. Now, there's one more thing that we didn't put. What is it? Actually, there are two. The first one is the center, so I'll put just a C there. And the foci. How do you find the foci? To find the foci, you need to be able to find C. There's a formula here. C is equal to the square root of A squared minus B squared, or 25 minus 9, which is
16, 4.
4. So I will count 4 units. 1, 2, 3, 4. I put an X there. 4, I put an X, and I call it F for foci. Any question on this?
So if it was like vertical, then
You are counting.
on the other side?
Yes, you just count based on where it's located. If it's located below X, below Y, and so on. Now, I don't know what we're doing tomorrow, but I will show you something cool today. Let's look at, it says sketch the graph labeling center, foci, and endpoint of the major and minor axis. Not a problem. Let's do the same thing we just did. I will start by doing my X and Y coordinates. Do you think it's horizontal or vertical?
Vertical.
Vertical. What's A?
Yeah.
What's B?
I don't know. I'm checking.
What's B? X. Very good. What's the center? Steven. What's the center? -2, -3. It's always the opposite sign of what's inside the parenthesis. So, from here, I would go ahead and put the center at -2, -3. So, you go ahead and plug that center in.
What's the equal 1?
It's always equal 1. That's the form. All right, I assume that's -2, -3, okay? I said this is at -2, this is at -3. So it's for space that I don't actually count them. And I will count 10 units up and down. So 10 units up and down, and 8 units left and right. 8 units. It's going to give you these points, and you will end up with something like this. Okay, all you need to know is that A is 10, B is 8, C is equal to the square root of 100 minus 64, which is 36, C is 6. And one thing to notice is the foci and the vertices are always collinear. The foci and the vertices are always collinear. In other words, if the vertices are up and down, foci will also be up and down. If vertices are left to right, foci will be left to right. You did?
Yeah, I said. So they're going to be vertical.
Oh, yes. Any question on this? Question? All right, let's move on to the next page. The next page, this is what I enjoy the most. I no longer give you the equation, and I'm going to make you come up with the equation. But I will give you all the clues necessary to come up with the equation. So, Jessica, grab Joshua's phone for me. Can y'all pass it up all the way to here? Because he's always on it. I don't know what you have on it that is so old. And it's a new phone. I like it. Thank you.
You got a bigger one.
When I say I like it, that doesn't mean I want it. I got what I want it for. All right, let's look at this. It says center at 4, 5. Why don't we plug in the center first? What is it at?
4, 5.
4, 5. Very good. You should know that. Endpoint of the major axis is at 0, 5. So let's plug in 0, 5. When you see major axis, what comes in mind? A, B, or C? A. Now tell me, what is the value of A?
35.
That's A squared. How do I know? A actually is not even A squared. A is what? The distance from the center to the vertex. But they told me, they gave me an endpoint of the major, which is here. If I have the center and one endpoint of the major, the distance between these two will give me A. So what is that distance? It seems like it's 4. Now, let's go ahead and plug in the other point. It's at 8, 5. Now, another question. This question is for Eric. Eric, is it horizontal or vertical? Horizontal. Look what the major axis is doing. It's giving you a horizontal line, therefore the ellipse is horizontal. Let's go ahead and plug in an endpoint of the covertex. Covertex is at 4, 4, meaning somewhere here. When you see covertex, what comes in mind? A, B, or C? B. And who can tell me the value of B? 1. Very good. B is equal to 1. Since I have A and B and I have the center, who wants to go ahead and tell me the equation, the full equation? X minus 4 squared, okay?
Plus y minus 5 squared,
Mhm.
and the other one will be over 16.
Over 16 on the first one,
Yeah.
and over
1.
1. Perfect. You gotta know first the format. The format is something square over some, you know the format. The next thing is use the center, just like we did with the circle. And since you know that the major is horizontal, put it below X. A below X, B below Y. Do I need to explain it again? The endpoints of the major axis are -2, -1, and -2, 3. Why don't we plug in those 2 points? -2, -1, and -2, 3. Those are endpoints of major. Therefore, what comes in mind? A, B, or C? A. Those are endpoints of the major. Where do you think the center is?
The center is -2, 1.
-2, 1. It's the exact middle of those two. So, this is my center. Now, tell me the value of A. 2. A is equal to 2. The distance from the center to any of those 2 points. 1, 2, or 1, 2. Now, let's plug in the covertex. The endpoint of the minor axis or covertex is at 3, -1. 1, 3, -1. Oh, that's a mistake. What was that? Oh, I'm looking at this. No wonder. It's -1, 1. So -1, 1. Somewhere here. Jacob, you. What is the value of B? 1. Perfect. Now, smiles. Right? Tell me the equation. Or if you're not sure about the equation, tell me the center. I know it's not you. I'm waiting for. He's right there. The center is at -2, 1. Now, since the center is at -2, 1, it means that the equation we have x plus 2 square plus y minus 1, the whole thing square, over. The big number goes below x or below y? In other words, is it horizontal or vertical? Vertical. So the big number goes below y. And what goes below y? So 1 is bigger than 2? 4. And below x is 1. Let's look at number 6. Endpoints of major axis are at 8, -4 and -2, -4. So I will count 8, -4. That's one of them. And -2, -4. That's another one. Any question on number 6? The easiest one is when they give you the center. Let's look at it. But this time they gave you the foci. Gotta be careful. The foci is no longer A or B, it's now C. Now the center allows me to write more than 50% of the equation. X plus 2 square over something plus y minus 3 square over something is equal to 1, right? Let's plug in the center. The center is at -2, 3. Meaning here, right? The minor axis, minor, what does that mean? B. The minor axis is at -2, -5. I don't know if it's really the minor. It looks pretty big to me. -2, -5. What is the value of B here? Oh, that's better. -2, +5, meaning here. Now it looks more like minor. What is the value of B, guys? 2. And since the minor is up and down, what do you think the measure is? Left and right, right? If the minor is vertical, that means the major is horizontal. Therefore, the ellipse, is it horizontal or vertical? Horizontal. This is the minor, meaning the smallest is vertical. Therefore, the big is horizontal. That means the whole thing is horizontal. In other words, B will be below the Y. I can put a 4 here. Now, let's look at the foci. The foci is giving you what letter? C. It's at 1, 3. 1, 3. Somewhere here. What is the value of C? What's the value of C? Count it. It's 3. So I got C and I got B. What is the formula? The formula says C is equal to the square root of A squared minus B squared. You understand that, right? Let's plug in the value. I will therefore say C, which is 3, is equal to the square root of A squared minus 4. Now, I will square both sides to say 9 is equal to A squared minus 4. You still good so far, right?
5.
If I move the 4 to the opposite side, be careful. What do you get? 13. So A squared is equal to 13. Do you need to find A? No, you do not need to find A. Because what goes below here is A squared. Right? A squared goes down here. Why do I need to find A? I don't really care unless I want to graph it. None on this one. Any question? Now, if I was the one making one of these problems, this is what I would give you. Something like example 8. So let's take our time and look at example 8. Here I give you both foci. So let's plug in the foci. The first one is at 3, 1. And the second one is at 3, 3. Freddie, please tell me where the center is. Three, 2. Perfect. So we know the center is at 3, 2. What else do we know? We know one. We don't know A. What do we know is A, Mariana? Since it's not A. What are these 2 points? They were given by what? Foci. Therefore, what letter is that? C. So C is equal to what? 1. Very good. Now, just looking at this, I can tell you already if it's horizontal or vertical. Who else can tell? What is it? It's vertical. The foci and the vertices go the same way, always. So if the foci is up and down, the vertices will be up and down. Let's go ahead and write the major axis at 3, -2. That means 3, -2. What is the value of A?
4.
It's 4. So let's write half of the equation. I will have x minus 3 squared plus y minus 2, the whole thing squared, over, we know that it is vertical, so the big number we go down here. The only thing we don't know is b, but we know the equation says c squared, or c is equal to the square root of a squared minus b squared. So we will say c, which is 1, is equal to the square root of a squared, which is 16, minus b squared, which is, I don't know. We square both sides to still get 1 equals 16 minus b squared. What do you think b squared is? 16 minus what is 1? 15. Do I need to square root it? No, I just write 15 here, and life is beautiful. Any question?